Blairing Out Show.
This is the Blairing Out with Eric Blair show with Ivan Moody, a 5-finger death punch, backstage at the Rockstar Energy Mayhem Festival in San Diego, California.
Can't beat it, man.
Are you kicking ass out here today or what?
Taking names, absolutely, man,
Yeah.
for sure.
You know what? I just have to say that I got the album, The Way of the Fist. I've been cranking this thing in my stereo. Amazing.
Thanks, man.
5-finger death punch is bringing that quality back to metal. Tell me the story of 5-finger death punching.
Well, I was originally a Motograter, as a lot of people know, and after that, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth with the music industry, so I took a couple years off. I was sitting around on MySpace, go figure, one night, and Zoltan emailed me, telling me he had some new material, he wanted me to check it out. I really didn't have any plans on singing again, to be honest with you. But once I heard it and I met the guys, I flew into LA on a Friday, and I was so just put off by it. I mean, I just fell in love with them immediately. It was cut and dry. I was in the studio by Monday. We sat around, configured a couple names, put the songs together, and so is life. So.
Now, Ivan, how can a guy like you that's so talented ever think that he's going to stop singing and playing music?
Because sometimes it's not about the talent factor. Sometimes it's more about when you're oversaturated with politics and the bad things that go along with it. I started forgetting why I sang, you know, and it was hard for me to just shake somebody's hand or to walk up and do something like this, and that's not why I started, you know, man. I love metal, dude. I love rock and roll. I love what I do for a living. I mean, next to being a porn star, there's really nothing better, so I knew that unless my heart was into it, no matter how talented somebody is, there's just no reason to be there.
So when did you feel the joy factor returning?
Second I got in the studio.
Really?
To be totally honest with you, yeah. Even when I was writing the material that I wanted to show them, even on the plane flight out there, for that matter, I was debating. I was like, you know, am I doing the right thing? Is this going to happen again? But when I sat down with Zoe and Jeremy and Matt as a collective, some of the most stellar people I've ever met in my life, and amazing musicians. So it was really like if I didn't take the opportunity to at least try one more time, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, and that's not the way I want to go out.
Once I got the CD and I was listening to it, I started singing this song, Monkey See, Monkey Do.
Yeah, right.
Now,
Salvation.
Still I find salvation, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now, what, is that song like a strike against organized religion?
I wouldn't say it's a strike. I mean, there's been so much crap said about it already that, I mean, anything I'm going to say is moot to a point. So for me, it was just a release on the fact that too many people look for an answer beyond themselves. You know, I mean, we all are given the same opportunities, the same gifts. I mean, some of us lesser than others and whatnot, but it's really what you make of it. And to sit around and ask somebody or to beg somebody to help you along, take the initiative and do it yourself is more or less what I meant.
I believe you sold 500,000 copies of your new album. Am I right?
Getting there.
Okay. It's tremendous.
This day and age, you don't hear about that.
No.
It's a ridiculous number. Yeah, no, I agree. Kids don't have to buy albums anymore. But to have them, you know, not downloading, not going to iTunes, or to actually coming out and buying the CD and spending time with us, our biggest question when we got in this was, like, what happened to bands like Pantera? You know, early Metallica, these when Dime and Phil would walk out there and sign every autograph and hang out and have a beer, and it's, I hate to put it this way, but there's a 3-letter word that's illegal on our bus, and it's emo. And I think that has a lot to do with it. These Hot Topic kids and these top 10 singles and Eyeliner and Daddy Never Loved Me Enough, and it's like, get over it, man. I mean, this is music. There's no rules in rock and roll.
You actually keep away from groupies as far as becoming intimate with them because you're very protective of yourself and you don't want to get any STDs.
It's not just that. It's not just the STD thing. That was just a quote that they took from a sentence. The biggest part of it is I have a daughter, you know, and I grew up in a family of women, and I just believe, in all honesty, that women should have more respect for themselves than that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a gorgeous pair of tits, just like anybody else. But when it comes to, like, that's all you stand for, you know, it's just like anything else, like being John Holmes. Like, wow, you got a big cock, right on, good for you.
You don't define yourself as being a rock star. How would you define the term rock star?
I think rock star is an old cliche that's used for arrogance and, you know, somebody who thinks they're above God at that point. And for me, like I said, man, I'm the same blue-collar kid I've always been. I grew up in Denver. I've always been a Denverite. The second I let that go to my head, I mean, I still take off my shoes when I go home. You know, my mom would kick my ass if I put the elbows on the table. So for me, it's not about that, man. It's really connecting with the fans and my boys, keeping my band as a collective concentrated and focused. And at the end of the day, just having fun, man. I mean, it's a gift. We get to play heavy metal for a living.
Exactly.
Who the hell?
What was it that your parents instilled in you to make you have this foundation?
I hate to even say this. I usually don't talk about this kind of stuff, but I actually, when I say I grew up in a family full of women, I never got to meet my father, you know, so I was pretty much, you know, just a bastard from day one. And by the time I was about 12 and 13, I was so out of control. My mom threw me in group homes. She couldn't take care of it anymore. So for me, what instilled it was being alone a lot of the time. I mean, when you have nothing more than a radio and, you know, a couple CDs to keep you company, I don't even know how to go into that without taking up an hour of your show.
Is there a spiritual side to Ivan Moody?
Absolutely.
And how would you define that spiritual side?
Electric. I believe in karma, man. I believe that you do good, you get good. I believe it's all about honesty and especially being true to yourself. I think a lot of people so judgmental at other people, but they have no time in the day to look at their own face and go, wow, maybe I'm fucked. So for me to be spiritual at all is more of just a sense of being honest and loyal to myself, man.
Five Finger Death Punch. Beautiful name, powerful, totally fits your sound.
Metal.
That comes from a Quentin Tarantino movie, correct?
It does, actually, but it was originally from an old kung fu movie in the 70s that me and Zoe used to watch all the time, and it was like these 7 guys, and they were like the one assassin you had to go through to get. Anyway, and it was a 5-finger Lotus Punch. Okay. But we're like, Lotus doesn't sound very metal, so let's just change it to Death.
Yeah.
That works good for us. So, I mean, we wanted to come out of the gate swinging, man. This is metal, you know? And we went through a million names. That one just seemed like so abrasive. It was like sandpaper on the soul.
Now, tell me about the cover art for the album.
Our good friend Scully actually does that. He was in the Bleeding video, as a matter of fact. He's got tattoos on his head. Anyways, an amazing artist. Came down from Canada. He's a good friend with Zoltan and whatnot. But him and Zoe sat down, choreographed the whole thing, and we wanted the old school, like the Puss Head.
Yeah.
With the old Metallica themes and whatnot. We really, like I said, I wanted it to be metal.
What are some of your favorite cuts on the record?
Personally, my favorites are Meet the Monster, Devil's Own, and of course Ashes, because I wrote it about, you know, that inner demon that I'm always fighting with. So that was, that's probably one of the best. The Bleeding's really painful for me. I mean, it's not like the rest of the people think. It's actually a part of my life that I tried to let go of, and the only way I could do so was by putting it on a chapter of music.
Have you been held down in your life by anybody?
Just like you have.
You know it.
Absolutely, man. I'm just like anybody else, man. I think I have a lesser tolerance for garbage than most people do, which is something that's instilled for me from day one. My mom's an old biker.
Really?
She doesn't put up with garbage.
How would you define the word love?
Evil backwards.
Really? Okay.
How's that?
What, Ivan Moody, what brings you the most peace in your life right now?
My daughter.
Nice.
Hands over heels. So absolutely. I love that little girl. She's everything to me. Anytime I go home, the first thing I do, it's priority. You know, she just turned 10, which makes me feel really old. But at the same time, she's everything to me, man. She's a blessing, if there is such a thing.
How are you enjoying the success of the Five Finger Death Punch album?
Honestly, yet we're not.
Really?
I'm not. No, we refuse to let ourselves. Absolutely not, man. We had an article 3 or 4 weeks ago where somebody was telling us that we were the next Pantera. And listen, that is an amazing honor to have somebody say that. But when you've only got one album and you're still in your second year of touring, to compare us to Dimebag and Vinny and Phil and Rex, not having it. We have a lot of work to do, man. We have stripes to earn, and as far as we're concerned, we're still in the trenches. So,
and, you know, going back to the song Ashes, everything I touch turns to ashes.
True story. No.
Tell me about it.
I have a real problem with jinxing things for some odd reason. Since I was a kid, and that was me yelling at the person inside that sometimes just doesn't know when to shut up.
What are the fans saying to you on this tour?
It's overwhelming, man. The reaction we're getting, it's been like a snowball effect. You know, we started out with 100, 200 kids, and all of a sudden we got like 3,000 or 4,000 kids out there chanting our name, and I'm going, where did this come from?
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, if I could say anything to those kids, it's just to keep it real, and don't dissolve yourself because somebody else told you it was cool.
What advice would you give somebody that is contemplating suicide?
I mean, for somebody to be that far along, it would take more than a couple words to do anything. I mean, that's damage. You know, I've been there a couple times, and such to an extreme that I almost didn't make it out. So I never wanted anybody to say anything. I just wanted them to listen. Would be the best way I could put it.
Now, you talked about your daughter a little earlier. How do you weigh being in this band, having this kind of success that I believe you're having, and then still keeping the family life together?
It's ridiculously hard, man. It really is. I've missed so many days of her life already, you know, little things that, you know, when she's crying on the phone, I can't be there just to hold her. I don't know, man. I don't like to talk about it a lot just because it's really personal for me.
Yeah. Ivan Moody, you are a good
Much
man.
love, man. Dude,
yes, you rock.
keep it real, man.
Totally.
Best interview I've done fucking this whole tour. Thank you, man.
Thank
Straight
you.
up.
Blairing Out with Eric Blair show backstage at Rockstar Mayhem in San Diego with Ivan Moody of Five Finger Death Punch.
Keep it metal, kids.
Signing off.